Good afternoon, everyone. Now, I will discuss about the intercultural communication. But before that, I will present to you the three learning objectives of this lesson. First, define intercultural communication. Second, develop appreciation for different cultural perspective. And third is practice effective intercultural communication. These learning objectives are the aims of this lesson. After we finish this discussion, you will be able to define what is intercultural communication. You will develop appreciation for different culture, perspective, and lastly, you will be able to practice how to communicate with other people, especially with other culture and nationalities effectively. Okay. Before we go to our proper discussion, I will give you one quote. I first po, before the quote, I will presented to you po a picture. Picture. What do you think is the connection of this picture to our lesson? Okay, what do you think? The connection of that picture to our lesson is that picture um, shows the different culture, the different children who wears their different national costumes. And now, ayan, ito yung quote. According to Tony Robbins, to effectively communicate, we must realize that we are all different in the way we perceive the world and use this understanding as a guide to our communication with others. Tony Robbins believe that intercultural communication is about communicating with other people effectively, that we need to appreciate and we need to accept that we are all different in our preferences, perception, or how to perceive the world. Magkakaiba daw tayo ng mga paniniwala, but if we apply to communicate with other people effectively using our different culture at naiintindihan natin yon, magiging effective ang communication. Okay. What is intercultural communication based on Ting Tommy? Okay, according to Ting Tommy, intercultural communication is about to happen when two individuals interact, negotiate, and create meanings while bringing in their varied cultural backgrounds. Basically, intercultural communication is about two individuals sending, sharing, or conveying messages through their various cultural background. Ibig sabihin, dahil tayo sa Pilipinas, we have different cultures, so nagko-communicate tayo with each other kahit iba-iba ang cultural backgrounds natin. Okay, one more definition about intercultural communication is about the communication that pertains to communication among people from different nationalities. This is the definition of Godicons 2003. Ayan, according to him, intercultural communication is influenced by different ethnicities, religions, and sexual orientations. What do you think is the difference between the definition of Ting Tommy and Godicons? Ting Tommy is about sharing or conveying with other people with their different cultural backgrounds. But kay Godicons, um, pumapasok na po dito yung ethnicities, religions, and sexual orientations. Okay, next. In general, intercultural communication is a complex process with the interplay of different factors. What is being complex? Complex is about it defines broad and complicated. So, basically, intercultural communication is complicated communication with different factors. May iba't ibang factors po dyan. Hindi lang po culture, but sexual orientation, gender preferences, values, norms, at kung ano-ano pa po. And as a communicator, as a senior high school student, you have to show utmost sensitivity to the culture, age, social status, and religion of the receiver to achieve effective communication. As a communicator, you have to respect, you have to consider the age, social status, and religion. Dito po pumapasok, you can use the courtesy and consideration in 7 Cs para po to avoid understanding and misinterpretation and achieve effective communication. Okay, after knowing the intercultural communication, its definition, after that, you will be able to learn the DMIS or the Developmental Model of Intercultural Sensitivity. What is this? DMIS is a structure or framework that shows on how people explores or experience the cultural differences. Pinapakita po ng DMIS kung ano ba yung mga nai-experience natin during nakikipag-communicate tayo with other cultures, with other people, or with other nationalities. And DMIS has 6 stages. Those 6 stages, nahati po siya in 2 sides. 6 stages divided into 2 sides. But first, I will define the 6 stages. Six stages describes cognitive structure that is communicated through attitudes and behaviors. These six stages are connected on how we show our behavior, on how we um, show our attitudes with others. And the 2 sides of the MIS, that is the 6 stages divided, is the in ethnocentric ethnocentric side and ethno-relative side. Okay, but that slide is not included to this lesson. I recently added that 2 sides because I watched that video on YouTube. Kaya as you watch this video, you need to take this note para po hindi nyo po malimutan. Ayan, 2 sides of the MIS are ethnocentric side and ethno-relative side. What is ethnocentric side? Ethnocentric side, it is the experience of one's own life that is centered on the reality. Ibig sabihin po sa ethnocentric, doon ka lang dahil alam mo yung culture mo, so doon ka lang mag-i-stick, doon mo lang isi-center yung buhay mo sa own culture mo. Well, the ethno-relative is the experience of one's own and other culture as relative to context. What is ethno-relative? Yan nga. Ito naman po, you have your own culture, but also you can relate your own culture with other culture. To any context. Na halimbawa, example, you are going to Korea. You know your own culture, Filipino culture, but you can relate or you can adapt the other culture of Korean culture. Okay? After that, eto na po, sa 6 stages na po tayo. What are the 6 stages? Under the ethnocentric side is the denial, defense, and minimization. What is denial? Denial is when the individual does not recognize cultural differences. Denial, example, all cities are the same. They all have tall buildings, fast food chains, and coffee shops. In denial, you are not recognizing other cultures. You only lagi mo lang sinasabi na magkakapareho tayong lahat. Lahat naman tayo may ganito, lahat naman tayo may ganyan. Ganun po ang denial. While the defense is about the individual starts to recognize other culture and it is intimidated by them, consulting in either a superior view. Ibig sabihin po, in defense, example po nito ay, yes, I understand that there are different cultures, Korean culture, Japanese culture, but in Filipino culture, it is more lively, more mas masaya sa Filipino culture, parang ganun po, na oo, naniniwala ka, pero binibida-bida mo pa rin yung culture mo, yung your own culture. Okay, minimization. What is minimization? Minimization is about the individuals also recognize cultural differences, but they agree more in universality. Example, oo, ganyan talaga yung culture nila dyan. Oo, ganito talaga yung culture nila dyan. Pero, pare-pareha lang tayo. You are focusing on the universality or generalization. Linalahat mo tayo na sinasabi na, pare-pares lang tayo ganito. Pero, nare-recognize mo ang ibang culture. Okay, under the ethno-relative naman is the acceptance, adoption, and integration. What is acceptance? Acceptance is when the individual begins to accept important cultural differences. It means that sa acceptance, from the root word accept, dito mo tinatanggap na lahat ay, yes, I already accept that it has different culture from Korea, from Japan, and so on. Next, okay, adaptation. Adaptation is about the individual is very open to the world. Again, from adapt, root word adapt, it means that you can adapt with different culture. When you go or when you went to Japan, you already adjust, you already adapt. And if you are going to Korean, you want to adapt, you are willing to adapt, you are willing to appreciate and accept their culture. And lastly, integration. What is integration? Integration is when you know you go beyond your own culture and see themselves and their action based on multi-various cultural viewpoints. Again, sa integration po, you already know, sobrang alam mo na yung culture mo, but you are also relating your own culture with other culture. Parang nakikita mo yung own culture mo sa ibang culture. Ay, ganito pala. Ay, ganito kami. Parang ganun din sila. Wow, parang ganun po. Na naipapagpareha nyo po yung isang culture. Okay. Next. After that, I will discuss po some characteristics, 7 characteristics of component intercultural competent intercultural communicator. This characteristic you must have to be an effective communicator in intercultural communication. And number 1, flexibility and the ability to tolerate high level of uncertainty. Okay, okay, again, I will discuss the characteristic of component intercultural communicator. And this characteristic, you need to have these characteristics for you to be an effective communicator under the cultural communication. First, being flexible and to have the ability to tolerate high level of uncertainty. You have to be flexible. What does it mean na example, you are going to Korea, dapat flexible ka na you already understand their culture, makakapag-adjust ka, you are willing to adjust. And next po, ability to tolerate high level of uncertainty. You need to, because uncertainty is synonym with unsure, you need to be, dahil hindi ka sure kung ano ginagawa nila or yung culture nila, you have to um, hayaan na lang sila dahil hindi mo nga sure kung tama ba yung ginagawa nila, kung appropriate ba. So, you have to let them be. Next po, reflectiveness and mindfulness. Reflectiveness, or you have to um, reflect first before knowing their culture, na kailangan mo i-reflect na pag nakita mong may ganyan silang ginagawa, paano ba to? Culture ba nila yan? Ganto ganyan. Mindfulness is about being aware. Being aware that their culture is like that na ganito sila, na ganyan yung ginagawa nila, pag ganito, na ganyan, na ganito. At number 3, open-mindedness. I know you already know that. Sensitivity, you have to be sensitive na kapag ganito ang mga um, example, my friend ka Muslim, hindi kumakain ng baboy. So, wag mo silang yayain na kumain or wag pag-usapan yung about doon. Adaptability, ayan. You need to adapt whenever you are, kung saan ka man, kung nasa Japan, Korea, or whatsoever. Ability to engage in divergent thinking, and systems level thinking. Divergent thinking is about thinking that um, wherever you are o kung saan ka man mapunta, alam mo kung paano mag-adjust. Divergent thinking, sige dito, alam ko maka-adjust ako dyan. O eto, dapat pupunta ako dito, alam ko makakapag-adjust ako dyan. And lastly po, politeness. Politeness is very hard to do kasi sometimes ang pagiging polite natin ay hindi nakakabuti dahil may mga misinterpret sa mga ginagawa nating politeness. Next po, after that, knowing the characteristic now, I will give you 5 tips. 5 tips on how to consider other people or how to show consideration with other people. Number one, avoid stereotypes. Generalization about a certain group. Okay, you don't have to be stereotype. Stereotyping is about generalizing some things na, example, yung lahat ng mga lalaki maloloko yan. Yan, that is a stereotyping and generalization. Avoid that. Next, avoid using he, she, man, or woman to refer to a general group of people. You may use plural pronouns. The use of his, her is also acceptable. Ayan, bakit po natin to i-apply? Because there are some friends or people that is included in the LGBT community. Yung preference nila ay hindi base sa preference mo. Hindi ikaw yung magbibigay ng gender preference nila, kundi sila. So, avoid using he, man to avoid offending other people. Next, do not talk. Ayun. Sa tip number 2, you may use plural pronouns. You, they, there, they are, and so on. Tip number 3 is do not talk down on younger people and the elderly. Ayan. I hate this culture of Filipino na kapag bata, you don't have the right to speak, to share your ideas, and to share your feelings. So, kung ganun man po yung ma-encounter natin, we have the rights to share our feelings, but with good manners and right conduct na mangungupo ka pa rin, magiging mahinahon ka, and so on. At huwag tayong sasagot sa mga matatanda. Next, be polite at all times. Do not belittle people you perceive to be on a lower social class than you. Ayan, I know you are all want to reach your dreams and to be successful and to be rich in the future. But kapag nandun na kayo at nasa tuktok na kayo, huwag kayong magmamaliit ng mga tao. Okay, and lastly, be sensitive to the religious practices of others. Yan, gaya po ng sabi ko kanina, sa mga example ko na about sa Muslim, ganyan na you have to be sensitive. Dapat you need to respect na ganito, bawal sila ganyan, bawal sila ng ganito. So you have to respect that. You need to adjust with that. Okay? I hope you already learned about the intercultural communication, the 6 stages and the 2 sides of the MIS, the characteristic of being effective communicator under this communication, and the tips on how to consider other people. Okay, I hope you are doing great po ngayong linggo at sana po mapanood nyo ito at may matutunan kayo. Okay, thank you to everyone. God bless you and keep safe. Bye.